And right now on the Sports Couch, we're happy to be joined by KMOX Sports Director Tom Ackerman. And Tom, here we are, one-third of the way through the St. Louis Cardinals season. The Cardinals are sitting at 28-27, and your thoughts on the Cardinals' progress so far this year?
Well, I think that what we've seen from the Cardinals so far is a team that's pretty much played like their record. I think they've been up and down. I think they're contenders. I still do. I think they're a postseason contender. I think they have to be better all around, though. Last night, and I was at the game last night, where they just, couldn't cash in on some opportunities. I mean, they had Johnny Cueto on the ropes and couldn't knock him out. And Cueto issued some walks, but they weren't able to cash in on that opportunity. And then on the other end, they gave up some late runs, and the bullpen leaked a little bit and gave up some late runs, and they ended up losing the game 5-1. It was a game that they were in, though, against a very good Giants team. They just weren't able to score, and I thought a good pitching performance by their starter, Adam Wainwright, was encouraging. They just weren't able to support him. The Cardinals, through 55 games, have been a team that I think has surprised in two different ways. One, they've hit the ball a lot better than people thought. They've provided a lot more power than they had in the past. They said they were going to do that. Nobody really believed them, but they have it. They have power and power off the bench. The other surprise, though, has been that the starting rotation hasn't been what they thought it was going to be, which is one of the best in baseball. There really hasn't been one great starter on this team. Wainwright's looking better. Leak is looking better. Martinez just coming off a great start. He'll start on Sunday night. Garcia's been okay, and he's had some spectacular moments, but some okay moments. And then Michael Wacha has been, way below his all-star performance last year, although he looks like maybe he's starting to turn the corner a little bit. They have to get that rotation patched up and much better if they're going to compete in the National League.
Well, I agree, and that team ERA right now is not where it needs to be, and that seems to be the reason why the Cubs are doing so well. It's not so much the offense for the Cubs, but it's their pitching. I mean, they lead the league in team ERA, and teams are batting a collective 199 against the Cubs, and so it's kind of a roles are reversed this year compared to what they were last year between the Cardinals and Cubs.
It's really been surprising what the Cubs have done pitching-wise. Their hitters are very good and aggressive, and I think as long as that Cubs team stays healthy, they're going to hit the ball. But the pitching has surprised me. I did not think that beyond Jake Arrieta that they would be as good as they've been, but they have been. And so, they're doing what they should be doing, which is dominating the division. The Cardinals right now have an opportunity still to make the tournament, and that's exactly what you want to do. They could still win the division. I'm not throwing in the towel by any means, but they have some work to do to catch the Cubs, who I think are going to be an elite team all year. But as we all know, you can win 100-plus games, but you get into the postseason, the key is that you're hot going in, that you're rested and fresh going in. And I think the Cardinals will try to address those things as they move on. They want to be deep, they want to be flexible, and they want to be healthy and rested when September and October roll around. That is the goal. From top to bottom, I think they are a very talented team that certainly could challenge the Cubs in a series if they get into that situation. But they need to be much better than they were last year, which, quite honestly, anybody that watched the Cardinals knew that they were somehow, I don't know how, but somehow winning 100 games, finding a way. But when they got to October, they were just out of gas, and it showed.
Yeah, and if you go back and take a look at 2006, the Cardinals win just 83 games that year in the regular season, but then they're that hot team when you get into postseason, and you're right. If everything comes together and you got that depth and you're ready to play and you're hitting on all cylinders come postseason time, anything can happen.
Yeah, that's just it. That's exactly it. That's what you have to do, and they need to get back to that. And look at the Giants. The Giants' last three championships in 10, 12, and 14, they were not a team that dominated all year, but they just sort of chugged along. They kept themselves together, and by the time September and October rolled around, they were the hot team, and they just marched right through and won 3 titles. That's what the Cardinals need to do. The Cardinals found it in 11 also. In 11 they had a miraculous comeback to win the division, or at least not to win the division, but to get into the playoffs, and then suddenly they found themselves as the best team in the postseason when everything was settled. So that's it. And the Cardinals know that as well as anybody, and I would not, and I don't think anybody is, counting them out based on their history. They will find a way to make themselves the best they can be when it counts late in the year. I think they will continue to be a team that will be tough to beat. They just have to find a way to beat the good teams. Right now they're destroying the teams below them. They're playing okay against the teams that are like them. The better teams are getting the better of them. They got to find a way to reverse that.
Well, one of the pleasant surprises, of course, for the Cardinals is Aledmus Diaz. And when the Cardinals left spring training, you or I or anybody else, really thought that Diaz maybe would even make the team, let alone do what he's done. And here he is, an everyday shortstop. He's hitting .321, I think second in the league. And he's got to be your everyday shortstop. And now there's an interesting personnel move going on with Peralta coming back, and they're talking about playing him at third base.
I think that's a good move. I think you can play him at third. I think you can play Peralta at short and play Diaz at second and give Wong time off because Wong is still trying to find it. And I think that's a likely scenario, is that you have Carpenter at third, Peralta at short, Diaz at second for a lot of your games. And then you could move Peralta to third, put Diaz at short where he's most comfortable, and have Matt Carpenter play second base, which he absolutely can do and has done before. So that's a good thing, and part of the key here is that the Cardinals have that flexibility. There are really only two players in that infield that can't move, and one of them is Colton Wong. He only plays second base. And the other one's Matt Adams. He only plays first base. Everybody else can move around. So that's a really nice thing to have. And Diaz, boy, he is going to be a really good player. And the Cardinals knew that a few years ago when they brought him from Cuba. They knew that he had the skill. He had played professional ball in Cuba since he was a teenager. And you can just see the composure, the balance at the plate. Yes, he has made errors, and yesterday he had a ball hit hard to him. It was ruled a base hit, but really it was one I thought that he maybe could have handled. He's going to have these once in a while, but he's also made some spectacular plays. And I think just as time goes on and he learns the everyday grind, he will be a much better, more consistent player. But you can't deny what he's doing at the plate, and the Cardinals have rewarded him by putting him near the top of the order.
We are visiting with KMOX Sports Director Tom Ackerman. And, Tom, are you surprised by the power we've seen by the Cardinals so far? 72 home runs. That's second in the league, only behind the Mets.
Yeah, I definitely am, and especially, late in the game. They have something you cannot overlook is the Cardinals right now are the best team in baseball hitting the ball out of the ballpark late in the game. Seventh inning on, nobody's hit more home runs. They also have 10 pinch hit home runs, which is tied for the franchise record as we sit here in early June. So, this is a team with a lot of power on the bench. And I think, you have to let the season play out. But late in the year, when some teams might be wearing down, if the Cardinals can keep some of these bench players healthy, and that's the goal here, is to have players fresh, flexibility, depth, give people days off. So late in the year that you have a Brandon Moss healthy, Jed Jerko healthy, Matt Adams healthy, Jeremy Hazelbaker, who's shown some power, healthy. Coming off the bench and whacking a home run over the wall is a huge thing to have late in the year against maybe a worn-out reliever. So that's important. But, the other thing is I'm really encouraged by is watching Matt Holliday hit 9 home runs, because now I think, he's when the weather warms up, he seems to warm up. And I think in this summer, if you could get him into the double digits approaching 20 by midsummer, that's a really great thing to have, because, you really hoped that Holliday would be that. Matt Carpenter can show some power, and Matt Adams has hit 6 home runs, and I think that's an important thing to note, is that he's hit some of those to the opposite field. So they have it. They need to get Randall Grichuk going. They'd even have more home runs to their credit. But I think the most important thing power-wise for them is coming off the bench. That has been a huge plus for them. It's really saved them in a lot of ball games.
Yeah, you mentioned Randall Grichuk, a missed opportunity last night when the Cardinals had Johnny Cueto on the ropes, bases loaded, 2 out, Grichuk at the plate, and he taps out to the pitcher. But, boy, that was an opportunity to really bust that game open, because Adam Wainwright pitched a great game last night.
He did. He pitched a great game, and the thing that he's doing well right now is placing his fastball and then using the curveball to throw people off balance, and that's his out pitch. And yesterday, he gave up a couple of runs, but otherwise he was able to get himself out of some situations. I mean, he only walked one last night. He only gave up 5 hits in 7 innings, and he threw 103 pitches to get through his 7 innings, which is just exactly what you want. And I thought that he looked really good. I'll tell you who else looks good, man. I mean, Sonwan Oh. I really think that he should be considered as an all-star. He came in, and I know he gives up a couple of hits, and then he strikes out the side. I mean, Oh has, without looking at it, I believe 40 strikeouts and 8 walks. I mean, are you kidding me?
Yeah, that's nasty stuff there. Yeah.
His ERA, I know his ERA is 1.88, but you can look at it. He has, and last night, he threw like 21 pitches and I think 16 strikes. He just throws strikes. He has like 900 different pitches, not really, but it seems like he has about 100 different pitches that he can throw to keep you off balance. And he was so impressive that I think the Cardinals have something very special there. Just unfortunately, Trevor Rosenthal went back to missing the strike zone. He was all over the place. He walked 3, and the Cardinals just couldn't recover, and they ended up losing the ballgame.
Yeah. Well, before we let you go, we got to let you talk a little bit about the St. Louis Blues and what a magical season that was. I love the piece that you wrote on the KMOX website about the 5 things that we should remember about the Blues season and why it was such a special year, because it was magical, wasn't it?
It really was, and the number one thing that I put on that list was, the list was the top 5 things, top 5 ways the Blues connected with St. Louis, and we really needed that. The city's been through a lot. We really needed an underdog to root for, and the Blues provided that. But my number one thing on the list was beating the Blackhawks, because if they don't do that, I think everybody is back to that mode of, the Blues, there they are again, teasing us, all this great regular season, they can't come through in the postseason. And I think maybe that whole thing falls apart, but it didn't. They beat the Blackhawks, and I thought that was a wonderful moment in Game 7 in front of the home fans. The salute to the crowd was very emotional, and they needed it. And then they went and beat the Stars in 7, and I just think they wore down at that point. It took 7 games to beat the Blackhawks. That's hard enough. But 7 games to try to skate with a very speedy Dallas Stars team and a good team, best team in the West, I think took its toll on the Blues, and then it showed up against the Sharks. They just didn't have it against a better team in San Jose. But they connected with the community. I mean, they partnered with the Cardinals. They went out and made themselves a brand again, and it really does feel around here like it did in some of the great days with Hall and Curtis Joseph and Brendan Shanahan. The fans are into it. They're buying gear. Next year is their 50th season. They'll be playing the Blackhawks at Busch Stadium in the Winter Classic, very marketable event. The team is marketable. And I think it was perfect timing. With the Rams leaving, we needed that, and the Blues provided it. And so it's exciting. Now, whether they'll be as good as they were last year still remains to be seen, because they have some things they need to figure out. They need to figure out how to get more offensive firepower. They need to figure out who's going to be their assistant coaches. Right now they only have Ken Hitchcock, and he needs to fill out his staff. They have some things they need to shore up here and there, and try to figure out their payroll and who they're bringing back and how they're going to spend their money. But they have some good players coming back, and if they do it right, and if we trust in Ken Hitchcock and Doug Armstrong to do the right thing, I think they'll be a contender again.
Well, they're talking about some exciting renovations, too, to the Scott Trade Center, which is not only good for the Blues, but will be good for other things in St. Louis, such as attracting the NCAA tournament again.
Yes, and they'll need some help from the state to do that, but if they get that funding and get what they want, they're going to continue to make that building great and attract more events to town, and it is a great hockey building. And that was the other thing that I put in that top 5. I thought the Blues has done a really good job just with their in-house presentation. It's a lot of fun to go to games now. Every moment is filled with something, and the crowd is responsive. And even in the regular season, I just thought the Blues did a really good job connecting with their fans, and it's a unique fan base. If you're a Blues fan, you have been for years, and so have your parents, and you've all kind of suffered and been tortured together, and just waiting for that one day. So they do a good job of connecting fans and making it exciting, and just any opportunity they can to get Blues fans together, whether it's a party outside or a party over at Ballpark Village, or when the team's out of town, watch parties. They just try to make sure that they understand and that they appreciate their fan base. I thought they've done a good job of that, and also reaching out to kids and trying to grow new hockey fans, because youth hockey has exploded here in St. Louis. So, yeah, it's neat, and Scott Trade Center is kind of the hub of all that. So it's important to keep that going and keep that a great place to go. And I think they will do that. But I like where they're headed. I really do, as an organization. And obviously we're their radio partner, so we appreciate what they do for sure. But I'm feeling good about the future of the Blues organization. They just have, and I was chatting with some of the investors of the team about this. There's just a different feel now about the team around town. You can feel that buzz. And although it was a disappointing finish, I think now we're starting to understand what we just saw the last month and a half.
Oh, yeah. It was fun. It was really, really fun. So, Tom, always fun to visit with you as well. Appreciate your input, and, of course, love what you do on KMOX. And, again, thanks to you and everyone there at KMOX for the opportunity that I had with you down at spring training. It was a blast, and it was fun to learn from you, and keep up the good work.
Well, it was great to have you down there, and you're welcome to come down to Jupiter and come see us, and all of your listeners to come see us down at spring training. You can tell them, what I'm sure you have, what an experience that is. But we loved having you down there, and come and see us at Busch Stadium anytime.
All right, Tom. Have yourself a great weekend. Appreciate your time today, okay?
Thanks, buddy.
Take care. All right. Bye-bye.